Minister Desmond Lee.
Chairman, at appropriate junctures, may I show some slides on screen? Mr. Satyandi asked how we'll create a high-tech built environment sector that creates good jobs for Singaporeans and improves opportunities for local firms. Over the past year, government has been partnering our industry, unions, and institutes of higher learning to formulate industry transformation maps for key sectors in the built environment cluster. These are construction, real estate, security, environmental services, and landscaping. These 5 sectors cover the span of the infrastructure life cycle, from conception, design, and construction to operations and maintenance. And we want to help our firms level up their capabilities, seize new opportunities, and create good jobs for Singaporeans. So we're now shifting gears to implement these plans. For example, the construction ITM focuses on 2 areas to improve productivity and competitiveness in our sector. These are design for maintenance, design for manufacturing and assembly, DFMA, and integrated digital delivery, or IDD. DFMA involves the prefabrication of building components in a highly automated and mechanized manner, just like the manufacturing process, before on-site assembly. This saves time, reduces reliance on low-skilled foreign labor, and results in more consistent quality. As Minister Lawrence Wong had said, we need to make major shifts in the way we build to achieve better results. Driving DFMA adoption for greater productivity is one such decisive shift. And to help our firms do so, we will continue to create lead demand and at the same time build more integrated construction and prefabrication hubs, or ICPHs, to ensure sufficient supply of prefabricated building components. By 2020, we target to increase DFMA adoption rate to 40% of new developments, up from about 20% today. We are also pushing for greater adoption of Building Information Modeling, or BIM, and Integrated Digital Delivery, IDD. As Mr. Satyandi had described, BIM helps our firms visualize detailed building designs in virtual 3D form before they're actually built, thereby minimizing potential issues during construction. IDD builds on top of BIM to connect various project parties through digital information about the building. It also provides useful information about the building for future maintenance or retrofitting. Since 2015, building plans for developments larger than 5,000 square meters have to be submitted to BCA and other regulatory agencies using BIM. 86% of our large consultants and 65% of our large contractors now make good use of BIM. We will also drive IDD adoption so that our built environment sector can reap further benefits from the entire construction and building life cycle. To facilitate this, we will develop shared platforms and standards to increase IDD interoperability across the entire built environment value chain. By 2020, we target to have between 40 to 60 projects adopting IDD compared to 5 projects today. Sir, adoption of these technologies is not just for big companies. Many smaller firms are also building up their capabilities in DFMA and IDD. And one such example is a local firm called Dong Haiyang, which is a homegrown construction and interior firm. The firm set up a subdivision to explore DFMA, and this led it to develop its modular prefabricated bathroom units, or PBUs, as well as customized solutions to improve the fabrication and on-site deployment of its product. Another example is Shin Construction, a local SME specializing in plumbing. As a plumbing subcontractor for a residential development, Shin's adoption of BIM helped eliminate potential clashes between mechanical, electrical, and plumbing pipes and air conditioning ducts. This helped the project team avoid abortive works and delays during the construction phase. As Dr. Lee Bua noted, local contractors also need to build up their capabilities and track record to succeed both locally and abroad. In this regard, Dr. Lee said that stringent pre-qualifications in government projects could prevent local firms from qualifying and hence building up relevant experience. We should clarify that pre-qualifications are not intended to limit opportunities, but to ensure that tenderers have the ability to tackle important and complex public works, such as MRT or deep tunneling projects. While it is up to agencies to set their own requirements, they certainly have to be fair and not be unduly onerous. They should also ensure that their tenders obtain an adequate number of bids to ensure fair competition. Our approach to help firms is to give them the resources they need to build up their capabilities so they become more competitive. For example, contractors can tap on various schemes under BCA's Construction Productivity and Capability Fund, CPCF, to build up their capabilities and to upgrade their workforce. About $530 million in funds have already been committed under the CPCF, benefiting over 9,000 firms, 90% of which are our SMEs. In tandem, we also reviewed our procurement framework to place more emphasis on quality, and this will facilitate healthier and more sustainable competition. With improved capabilities, local contractors will better their chances of qualifying for more construction projects. In addition, we will also try to help our local firms internationalize if they wish to do so by finding opportunities for them to team up for large overseas ventures. Now, if our firms can offer together a unique Singaporean way of undertaking the entire development cycle, such as through BIM and IDD, this will certainly enhance their competitive edge. So one example, an opportunity is in Amravati, which is the new capital city of the state of Andhra Pradesh in India. A Singaporean consortium comprising Ascendus Singbridge and Semcor has secured a startup area to kickstart the new city's development. Singapore companies with the relevant expertise should consider whether they can export their services there as part of the consortium. So we also launched the Real Estate ITM last month, focusing on two areas. One, property transactions, and two, facilities management sector, FM. In the property transaction space, we aim to streamline the process to make it more convenient for buyers, sellers, and agents. For facilities management, FM, our goal is to transform the way we maintain our infrastructure so that we can be more efficient and effective. Now, Mr. Randolph Tan is quite right when he said that we need to make good use of technology and better streamline our building management operations. And this is especially important as our buildings and infrastructure age and as we continue to face manpower constraints. We will therefore encourage building owners and MCSTs to invest in better and more effective FM solutions, such as real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance. This will streamline their processes, enhance user experience, and reap long-term savings. This, of course, will depend also on demand, that the buyers of these services, such as condos and industrial properties and commercial buildings, recognize the value and the savings that can be reaped through having FM with certain capabilities. We will also encourage consultants and developers to systematically consider maintainability outcomes in the design and construction phase. This will enhance the sustainability of our buildings by reducing life cycle maintenance costs arising from inefficient design. Now, to operationalize this, BCA will be bringing industry, unions, and the government together in a tripartite Facilities Management Implementation Committee, or FMIC, to formulate, oversee, and review the implementation of the plans for this sector. Now, there are many synergies between the various ITMs under the Built Environment Cluster. Platforms developed under one ITM could also benefit companies in different stages of the building life cycle. Firms in this ecosystem can do much more to work together across functions and across sectors. And to drive our built environment implementation efforts, BCA will set up a transformation office for the whole built environment sector as previously announced. We will call this office Build Singapore, or Build SG for short, to reflect its purpose of galvanizing industry transformation to build our future city. While its initial focus will be to implement the construction ITM, its longer-term goal is to reap synergies from the various ITMs in the built environment cluster. Build SG will work closely with trade associations and chambers, institutes of higher learning, and unions to engage our industry and turn our ITM plans into action. In particular, it will focus on helping firms build capabilities and deploy key technologies and lending support to firms keen on exploring overseas opportunities. Build SG will also act as a one-stop career office to attract, retain, and upskill PMETs in the built environment domain. But sir, built environment transformation is more than just about effecting firm-level change. Those working in the sector must also upgrade themselves to continue to thrive in the industry. And employers need to provide their employees with opportunities to do so. Sir, I met Mr. Mohammed Shaban at the launch of JTC's JOps Command Center last month. After graduating from ITE, Shaban joined JTC in 1995 as a lift technician carrying out lift maintenance work. With JTC's encouragement, he expanded into more complex areas such as building management systems. Eventually, his expertise enabled him to start taking on greater responsibilities, including supervising less experienced technical staff. He is now a key member of JTC's Building Management Division, overseeing day-to-day operations in the JOps Command Center, which is a centralized command nerve center that monitors building operations and performance across JTC's buildings. There, he works with building managers and engineers in building diagnosis and fault detection. We have invited Shaban to contribute to the improvement of the facilities management sector at the national level through the tripartite FM Implementation Committee, or FMIC, and I'm glad that he's agreed to take up this challenge. It is people like Shaban with real deep skills and experience who thrive on new challenges, continuously upgrade their skills, and who are passionate about their work that will enable us to transform our built environment sector and provide new opportunities for Singapore firms and Singaporean employees. Sir, in our built environment transformation journey, we also want firms and the research community to partner us in creating new technologies and solutions. As part of this effort, MND and our partner agencies will be launching a series of calls for research ideas under the Cities of Tomorrow R&D program over the next few months, committing up to $40 million of research funds. We hope that the industry and research community will collaborate with us in this journey to transform the built environment sector through innovation. So far, we have spoken about our efforts to transform the built environment sector, to grow our economy and create good jobs. However, as our city ages and as our focus also begins to be on facilities management and maintenance of the city, we will also need to find ways to future-proof our infrastructure so that it continues to be safe and functional. Mr. Chong Ki-Hiong had asked how we ensure that buildings are designed and constructed to be structurally safe, enforce regular maintenance and checks, and grow a sustainable pool of local skilled technical staff to support this. There are already measures to ensure building safety. For example, developers must appoint a QP, or qualified person, who is a registered professional engineer, to carry out structural design. And for more complex works, the design must be checked by independent accredited checkers. A QP and his site supervisors must supervise building works to ensure that they're done in accordance with approved plans. Building material must also comply with prescribed standards and be tested by accredited laboratories. BCA will conduct site audits to ensure compliance with requirements. BCA also requires regular inspections to ensure buildings remain structurally safe. As Mr. Chong pointed out, it is also important to ensure that non-structural aspects like building facades are well maintained, especially as the city grows older. We have studied this and will be introducing a facade inspection requirement. The regime will focus on buildings taller than 13 meters and older than 20 years, as they may pose higher risks. Inspection must be carried out by trained personnel and be conducted once every 7 years. Now, this takes into consideration the expected lifespan of some common facade materials, allows for detection of facade deterioration to facilitate timely repairs, and aligns this with the typical length of repair and redecoration cycles, or R&R cycles, for HDB estates and the majority of condominium developments to save costs. We aim to finalize the relevant legislation by end of this year. Building owners will be given about 1 year's lead time to prepare before the requirements come into effect. BCA will continue to engage stakeholders on implementation details to minimize the burden of cost. We will also support the new facade inspection regime by introducing inspection guidelines and strengthening R&D efforts to look into more effective and productive ways to carry out facade inspection. This could include the use of camera-equipped drones to check building facade conditions, which I understand has been used overseas by companies like Industrial Skyworks in Canada and Wis Janie Elsner Associates in the US. I also agree with Mr. Chong that proper lift maintenance is important, and that is why we earlier tightened BCA's maintenance regime for lifts to ensure their safety and functionality. For HDB lifts in particular, we have also put in place additional procurement and maintenance processes to improve lift safety and performance. We are continuing to improve these processes and are now studying how to better evaluate downstream maintenance costs in the procurement stage so that HDB can better differentiate between lift suppliers. For example, we are studying the evaluation of tender pricing over a longer time period via longer lock-in maintenance periods for lift suppliers, as well as placing higher weightage on quality scores as compared to price scores in tenders. The other part of the equation is to build a sufficient pool of competent personnel to conduct the required checks and servicing. Last year, BCA and our labour movement formed the Lift and Escalator Sector Tripartite Committee, or STC, to look into ways to professionalize the industry and to attract more locals to join the sector. And I understand that the STC will provide its full recommendations later this year. But one recommendation being seriously considered is a voluntary progressive wage model, or PWM, for local lift technicians. The PWM will be competency-based. Each wage level will be defined by specific skill sets and responsibilities. And this sets out clear progression pathways for lift technicians and ensures they are remunerated appropriately for their skills and effort. We hope that companies will come on board and work together to build up a sustainable pipeline of skilled local lift technicians. It is also important for us to ensure that our public housing remains safe and well maintained. In that regard, some members have asked if we can do more to address maintenance issues faced by flat owners. Generally, while we strive to minimize downstream maintenance through high-quality construction, flat owners also play our part in maintaining the flats as they age. Nonetheless, HDB has, on a goodwill basis, continued to assist flat owners should they raise maintenance issues and advise them on possible follow-up actions. In addition, we offer heavily subsidized upgrading works under the Home Improvement Project or Program to address common maintenance issues for older flats built up to 1986. For issues such as ceiling leaks and spalling concrete which occur outside HIP, residents can apply for a 50% subsidy under HDB's Goodwill Repair Assistance Scheme, or GRA. Finally, for tiles originally provided by HDB, HDB will replace dislodged ones within 15 years from the date of sale to the first owner. This is more generous than the private sector provision. Taken together, these measures, including efforts at the local level, have helped keep the maintenance costs of our flats low for the majority of HDB residents. Now let me briefly address the remaining cuts. Engineer Dr. Lee spoke about difficulties faced by some landed property owners in accessing their neighbour's property to undertake repairs. If homeowners face such difficulties, they can seek help from their neighbourhood committees or other dispute resolution channels such as community mediation centres, or try to resolve the issue amicably. Nevertheless, we will study to see if legislative changes are needed. Ms. Silver Lim spoke about owners of landed properties affected by breakaway works. There are already requirements on the homeowner to ensure that any breakaway works are done properly. This includes plastering and painting the exposed wall. The appointed QP has a professional duty to ensure that the works are structurally safe and done in accordance with all requirements. And should issues like water seepage arise later on, we encourage owners and neighbours to resolve them in an amicable manner or via dispute resolution channels, which I mentioned earlier. If there are complaints about structural issues, BCA will investigate and take appropriate enforcement action for any breach of the Building Control Act. Having said that, similar to my response to Engineer Dr. Lee, we will study whether legislative changes are needed. Mr. Peng Eng Huat asked about the allotment of heavy vehicle parking spaces. His concern is about the availability of heavy vehicle parking at the local level. And I understand that in his discussions with URA, as part of the master plan, and on an ongoing basis, he has raised these queries and will continue to address them at the local level. URA also allows mutual exchanges of season parking locations amongst drivers within its heavy vehicle parks through an online platform. And through measures such as these, including local efforts, we hope to assist heavy vehicle drivers with their parking issues. Likewise, we continue to encourage employers to play their part in providing the necessary commute facilities for their staff. Mr. Daniel Goh asked if designs could be improved to mitigate noise pollution from vehicles in multi-story car parks. Sir, noise mitigation is a consideration when HDB designs and plans HDB estates. Specific to car parks, HDB considers the orientation and distance between them and residential blocks and the placement of physical barriers such as communal facilities as well as greenery to screen the noise. We will continue to incorporate good planning considerations and make use of technology where appropriate, such as noise modeling, to mitigate noise impact. Dr. Daniel Goh also asked about the impact of prefabrication construction methods on homeowners' renovation options. Under both traditional and prefab construction, homeowners are not allowed to hack or remove structural elements. However, flats built with prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction tend to have thicker structural columns. HDB is studying ways to give flat owners more flexibility for renovation, even in such units. HDB has also facilitated renovation. For example, we no longer provide kitchen walls so that homeowners need not hack them during renovations. Since 2015, HDB has also used dry walls for non-load-bearing internal partition walls, and these are easier to remove compared to traditional concrete walls. Lastly, some members have spoken about animal issues or human-animal interactions. Mr. Louis Ng described his most recent experience working with AV and animal protection issues. I'd like to thank the members for his encouraging words, and I'm sure our officers will be very encouraged by what he said. AV will continue to partner institutes of higher learning, animal welfare groups, and the broader public to address human-animal issues and develop solutions using a humane, science-based approach that involves close partnerships with the community. And this year, AV will launch a trap, neuter, release, manage program for stray dogs, and we look forward to working closely with animal welfare groups and veterinarians to make this program a success. Engineer Dr. Lee asked for stricter laws against animal feeding, particularly for cats. And certainly, irresponsible feeding creates problems for everyone. In this regard, AV has been working with animal welfare groups and other agencies to educate the public about responsible feeding practices. That said, we recognize that there are a small number of irresponsible feeders despite this increased engagement. So for hotspots with persistent cases, we'll ask our agencies to step up enforcement, and we welcome members' feedback on specific areas that need to be focused on. And we believe that this combination of measures, both education and enforcement, will help to reduce irresponsible feeding over time. Sir, we are entering an exciting phase in the transformation of our built environment sector, which will lead to added growth and good jobs for Singaporeans. In this process, we will continue to future-proof our existing infrastructure to ensure they remain safe and functional for the long term. And collectively, we will continue to shape our urban environment into one that affords new and exciting opportunities for Singaporeans and a vibrant and exciting future city.